Good afternoon and welcome to Rapsodo's webinar. My name is Kristen Drage and I'm the softball coordinator here for our Rapsodo Diamond Sports products. Over the next half hour or so, we'll be talking all things Rapsodo with three of college softball's top coaches from the Power Five. We're joined by Illinois pitching coach Lance McMahon. Lance is in his 5th year with Illinois and also coached in the MPF with the Chicago Bandits. We also have JT Gasso of Oklahoma. JT works with the Sooners hitters and has been in the assistant role at Oklahoma for the past 5 seasons. And last but not least, we have the head coach of Mississippi State, Samantha Ricketts, who is entering her 2nd season at the helm and 6th overall with the program. Thank you all for joining us today, and let's get started. Rapsodo is the leader in sports analytics and possesses technology for softball that measures data on both the hitting and pitching sides of the game. Sam, let's start with you. What got you started with Rapsodo, and how does your program implement Rapsodo in practices and development?
We got started with Rapsodo with the pitching side first and getting that technology in and seeing just some of the data that we were receiving for our pitching staff. And then once my new pitching coach got on board, he was like, hey, you really need to check out the hitting Rapsodo. And it's really intriguing, and we were able to get it in pretty quickly. And it's become a daily instrument for us and a daily part of our training routine. And for us, it's just really important. We pride ourselves on player development, and we're able to really assess and objectively look at what our hitters are doing and individualize their practice plans and programming, and knowing whether it's inside or outside, that we're able to have a really accurate picture of what's going on with each hitter. And it's not a generalized guess when we're trying to create our practice plans.
Yeah, great. Can you give a specific example of how you've tracked this growth and see success while using the Rapsodo?
Well, we typically start off with the first week we'll do an assessment period. We're going to screen them everything from a mobility assessment to bat metrics with the bat sensor, and then we'll do ball metrics off the Rapsodo. And we're trying to get a baseline average on the contact quality, what the average and max exit velocities are going to be, strength and weaknesses, maybe pull side or opposite field, wherever that might be with them, to really kind of help us plan for the next 3 weeks of our phases moving forward on what we want to attack. And then from there, each hitter is going to get some sort of an individualized KPI where they're going to work on, for example, I need to be, if my focus is bat speed, exit speed, I need to be above my average exit velocity in 70% of my swings around. So they've got the Rapsodo in the cage with them. They go in, it's pulling up on the TV after every swing, and they know they're going for, 4 out of 6 or whatever their average might be on every round. It creates a little bit more of a competitive environment and definitely a more focused environment for our hitters, and for them to know exactly what they're working on, why, and then to see the results automatically and not have to wait for maybe the next day for me to post. It's a really tight feedback loop, and for us, really important for them to continue to grow and really work hard with that focus every day in the cage.
Awesome. Yeah. JT, how have you seen your hitters at Oklahoma grow as a result of using Rapsodo's technology?
Yeah, so right along with kind of what Sam's talking about, we track a lot of our stuff over the course of a semester. So just this past semester, this fall season that we just had, we were tracking a lot of performances, exit velocities off of different speeds. So just based on like a short answer, is seeing their exit velocities off different speeds improve over time. So if somebody comes in and they're struggling off high 60s, low 70s, you're able to track that there at the end and just say, hey, instead of these jam shots that you were getting at the beginning, you're now putting 10 of these balls in play, whereas before you were at 3 or 4. Now you're at 10, and your exit velocity is close to what your max would be on just like your max speed off front toss, or maybe slower velocities is kind of getting close for that. So just the improvement on strength and performance against different speeds and pitches, we were able to track that, and it was pretty cool because a lot of the freshmen just have no idea what they're getting themselves into, never seen different speeds or spins. So tracking that over the course of a semester is huge for us.
Yeah, that's great. That was a pretty good example. Do you have a way that you use it during season?
Yeah. So during season, it's kind of more for myself. If somebody is kind of declining or somebody is missing on a certain location or a certain speed, then you can kind of go back and like, hey, we really need to tune this up before we go into this next weekend of games. So, we'll put it on sometimes Tuesday, Wednesday practices where we'll just set the machine up to different things, or maybe even more of like what we're going to go into a weekend seeing. So if somebody's throwing a certain type of pitch or a certain speed, then you set that up so you can face that and then track it with the Rapsodo and see how they're doing against it. And if it is in line with what they were doing in the fall, awesome. If it's greater than what they were doing, awesome, they're improving. But if it's kind of going down, their performance is decreasing, then we're like, okay, we really need to spend more time getting this before we head out on Thursday usually. So yeah, it's not really, it's more for the coaching staff to know what we're going to do going into a weekend.
Awesome. So those were kind of the two hidden examples of how coaches use Rapsodo. Lance, as a pitching coach, how has Rapsodo benefited the pitchers at Illinois recently?
Well, this is my first semester using Rapsodo, and I think I picked the weirdest semester to start using it. For sure. I think I really tried to think outside the box. And unfortunately this semester we had some pitchers in quarantine due to contact tracing. So like Sam said, I got the numbers when they first got into campus and started practicing, and then started to get some baseline numbers, and then they were shut down for 2 weeks. And so then once that happened, I got their numbers after and see how that quarantine affected them, because I think it would be pretty ill-advised to think that this wouldn't happen during hopefully our upcoming spring season. So I'm really, really fortunate that we have that data now. What does a 10 to 14 day layoff look like for each pitcher? And then how long does it take them to pitch themselves back into some normal numbers? So right now I feel like we have good baseline numbers. Okay, this is the everyday spin rate we're going to get from this kid. These are the mile per hour range we're going to get from this kid. And then after quarantine, as you might expect, when their body just shuts down for 10 to 14 days, all those numbers went down. So, okay, how long does that take to revive back up? I think that's going to be super, super useful during season if that opportunity presents itself. And then the second thing, I think quantitative data just makes it super easy to goal set. You're always talking about smart, attainable, realistic goals. So putting numbers by those, okay, how much can we increase your vertical break by? What about the spin rate on maybe some of your secondary pitches? Can we improve that? And one thing I did this fall, I think what separates Rapsodo between like maybe Diamond Kinetics, with Diamond Kinetics, you have one ball that you get to use. When you're developing different pitchers, if you have, just for an example, if you have a big rise ball pitcher and you're trying to throw some drop balls down in the zone, I might get out a really light flight ball and see, okay, what's the spin rate on a easier ball to hopefully spin down in the zone. And if those numbers are good, okay, then we can maybe increase to a real ball or maybe a heavier ball, and just see what the potential of that pitch is. How much time are we going to really spend on developing this pitch? Is it something we could really implement into your repertoire and kind of go from there? So this has been a really big blessing for us because we have so many attainables that we can reach for now.
Yeah, that's great. And just following up on that, saying this is your first year using it, how have the pitchers responded with using data metrics now? This is all new for them as well.
Yeah, they've loved it. Fortunately, Illinois is one of the top academic institutions in the entire country. So I think giving them more reasons why they should maybe do X, Y, or Z is giving them a springboard to really do that. I think, again, when you go back to developing, you might see a kid do the adjustment you're talking about 1 out of every 5 reps. So I might be like, all right, do that, really over exaggerate this thing we're trying to do, and they might see their break go up by 6 or 7 inches. They're like, man, I might actually can do this, you know? And so now instead of getting it 1 out of every 5 times, we're getting it 4 out of every 5 times. And we're getting that 10 to 11 inch break because we're seeing more buy-in, because they're actually seeing the numbers coincide with them. And then the last thing, you know, we talk all the time about breaking the ball through the zone. So in my experience, sometimes a pitcher may not be able to see that. And so they're like, oh, I don't know, coach, I didn't really actually see that break. You know, like for example, for the low rise ball, I may be like, try to spin that low rise ball as low as you can, you know, because anything above the belt's a ball nowadays, right? Hitting coaches. And so they might, coach, I felt good, but I just didn't see the break. And so then with Rapsodo, we can use a couple different, the side view angles to really see, okay, that ball is spinning really well down in the zone. And we can see break points. So I think they've really enjoyed that facet of it.
Yeah, that's great. Good points there. Lance, going to come back with you now with another question. So being in the Big Ten, obviously your practice sessions tend to be more inside due to the weather conditions than other schools, especially preseason. So how have you been able to use the Rapsodo in these situations in the fall? And then how can you see it benefit you now in the preseason when you're a little bit more indoors than other schools?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing about going indoors is sometimes we have limited space. You know, sometimes we might be practicing with baseball in a corner, soccer in a corner. So we might not have as many mounds as we're accustomed to in the outdoor setting. So I think what Rapsodo does is it gives the chance for the student athlete to just kind of coach themselves. Usually in bullpens, I have some type of challenge to enter the bullpen. It won't take long unless they make it long, but it's usually about a 5 to 10 minute challenge. So what I'm looking forward to implementing in these winter months is just being like, I'll have a kid I'm finishing up with, and then I can just go say, hey, to enter the bullpen, you need to get 10 rise balls above a 1500 spin rate, or the vertical break needs to be above a 10. And then once you finish that, we can start. And what ended up happening is they just kind of coach themselves. They look at all the different angles. They get feedback from their catcher about where the ball's breaking. And it makes my job really, really easy. And then there's just all kinds of different challenges you can do. You can do velocity challenges. You can do breakpoint challenges, spin rate challenges. One of the fun ones I always do is trying to switch body parts. So like if I might say throw 5 rise balls and then throw a drop ball, and that drop ball has to be a pretty high number for the drop ball to count. So like hitting, you guys know, JT and Sam, it's once you get on a drop ball kid, it's really hard if a rise ball kid comes in to change that barrel path. So it's the same thing in pitching. It's really hard to change your body position if you've done something 4 times in a row. So I'm going to put all the marbles onto that one rep. So they really have to be cerebral about it, think about it, and execute it at the end.
Awesome. Sam, you have directed one of the most explosive offenses in Mississippi State history recently. In what ways have you been able to use the Rapsodo in your daily cage work, like Lance says, with limited space to enhance those practice sessions?
Yeah, again, a lot of what Lance said is competition. I think it really helps fuel the girls and gets them really competitive in there. When you do have a rainy day and we have to go inside, you can't quite see the ball flight. You know, the Rapsodo is up on the TV and they're able to compete, whether it's a home run derby. We'll do live at bats or scrimmages with the Rapsodo with the pitching and the hitting setup. And it helps it be a little bit more fair, because then you get pitching coach versus hitting coach arguing, no, that was an out, that was a hit. Well, we're going to let Rapsodo decide. So that was, again, another way to make it as game-like as possible, especially this fall when we weren't able to face any outside competition. So whether it was in or outside, live at bats, both of them were always set up for us. Another thing we like to do that really kind of helped us transition into just some of the language and the communication in our training was as a driveline drill, a launch angle ladder. So you've got to work your way up the ladder and down at different launch angles. So 0 degrees, 10, 20, 30, and then back down the ladder, 20, 10, 0. So for us, it was about, can you make the swing adjustment? Do you understand how to make an adjustment? And you could start to compare it to, all right, that's your hit and run angle. If we're facing a rise ball pitcher, you're going to need, maybe your 10 degree or your 0 degree launch angle, depending on the hitter. A drop ball pitcher, we might be working more 20 to 30 degrees. So it started to help them understand a little bit more of our game planning and our approaches to different types of pitches, as well as what they needed to do to make an adjustment. And once they kind of got the hang of that, we would turn that into a game. Who can go up and down the ladder in the least amount of swings? And just another way to measure them, to compete, to have fun, and then also to learn. That was something that we could really transition into our game plans and into our approaches with different types of movement pitches or speeds that we'd be facing.
Yeah, awesome. JT, Sam touched on that too with using it in the live setting. In Oklahoma, you've had some of the biggest names on both sides of the field, like Paige Parker and Sydney Romero. So those live sessions probably get pretty competitive. How does using the Rapsodo in those scrimmage settings help you evaluate and assess where your hitters are at?
Well, when Paige Parker was here, we didn't get a lot of readings on the hitting Rapsodo. So it's great using it in game because that's it. And that is the standard. That is what you are more likely to do. And we have a lot of people who can compete in the cage, and they have in a controlled environment. I talked to Lincoln Martin about this a lot, and it's just different. You have the arm going in a circle. It's just different. And I like to use a lot of the stuff in the cage just to kind of see where they're at, what they are capable of. But when you put it in a game, it's more realistic of what they're doing in those competitive settings. Sometimes it's not even mechanical or pitch selection. It is just all mental. So, we hooked up heart rates a couple of years ago, and you can see people's heart rate going from 60 to 70% of their max heart rate on deck. And then on the walk to the batter's box, it gets to 85, 90%. And it's insane just how different it makes it when you're competing. So, having it in the game for us, you can go back to it and show them like, hey, look, inside pitches in games, you're just getting blown up. We got to figure out something. So then you can go back into the practice settings and enhance it even more of just saying like, hey, you're doing really well in these drills that we're doing. Let's amp it up. Let's increase the speed. Let's do something to kind of make it more game-like. So yeah, I love it. And as a hitting coach for live, because like I said, it's just as real as you're going to get.
Yeah, that's great. Great feedback from all of you on just how to use it more in that player development side and in practice sessions. Now I want to switch here to the last final questions and talk about how Rapsodo is during the player assessment and the recruiting process. Lance kind of touched base on this. We all know that right now, the recruiting situation with not being able to evaluate in person has really kind of switched as far as a coaching and a player perspective. And Rapsodo kind of has that data. And we actually have a Rap score now that comes out that uses our data that kind of plots a player on where they rank with all the average data in their age range. So we have youth, college, high school, and then pro level as well. So JT, with those recent restrictions on recruiting, like how helpful do you foresee a player's Rap score and Rapsodo data be moving forward?
Yeah, I think it's huge. And Sam kind of talked about it, a little bit where it just keeps you accountable. You can't hide from it. You can't lie. And not like a lot of people do that. But it's just, it makes more sense of what it is that you're doing. So one of the main things I always see is, my ball exit speed is, 75. And I think that's great. But if you're hitting it straight into the ground, from what we're showing, has a high probability of being an out. And at least at the Division I level, you hit the ball 65, 68 on the ground, that's a tailor-made double play. Like they want that, So I think it gives meaning to everything. And I think hitters will be able to understand what they can actually do and not just like aim for a number and just try and get that. Because if you're trying to do that, that doesn't play when you're trying to compete, because kind of like I said earlier, it's different when you're competing. So I think from the player development side, it allows you to say like, okay, for me to be the best, I need to have this sort of exit speed or this launch angle in a game, because when I'm able to do that, I'm going to be just a better hitter overall instead of just shooting for one, number. So I think having something like a rap score, taking everything into consideration is going to, it's huge, because like I said, you can't hide from it.
Yeah, great points. Sam, how does Mississippi State use metrics right now from Rapsodo in that recruitment and player assessment side?
I think very similar to what JT's saying. It's an objective measurement for us and a way to compare, especially when we can't see these kids in person or have them on campus at camps or whatever it might be. There's no hiding behind it. We get emails all the time. I run a 2.6 down the line. Like, well, you can say that, you can type whatever you want, but what did the actual numbers show? And so for us, it's just been a really cool way to get that measurable, objective data, compare it to what we know works well within our system, what we have coming in from future classes, what we have on campus right now. And, really just another good, I think, evaluation tool. And it's something you see has really kind of been the norm in other sports for a long time. And for us to get more on that same path with these objective scores and just data measurements, I think is going to be a huge piece of us moving forward in the recruiting.
Yeah. Lance, as a pitching coach and having a pitching staff, how is it with using a tool like RapScore now, where you can get that player assessment of your current rotation and the future, as well as having like each individual pitch score assessed?
Yeah, so I think the cool thing about the RapScore is it shows you how good you are on that day. So I feel like this year at Illinois, we probably have our deepest pitching staff since I've been here. And what I really want to figure out this spring is when to give each kid an off day. Some kids are, the more they pitch, the better they are. Some kids, they need to pitch one night and then they need the next day off. So throughout the preseason, that's kind of what one of our focuses is going to be, is seeing, okay, are you 3 days on, then 1 day off, 4 days on, 1 day off? That way we can really put each student athlete in a position to be successful each and every time out. And then again, it's huge in the developmental phase. You want to see what trajectory you're on. Sometimes it's not about where you are on a certain day, but just that your number beat, if you're working on a secondary pitch, that your number beat yesterday's score, and so on and so forth down the line. And then in recruiting, kind of what Sam and JT already said, hopefully we don't have to virtually recruit again this summer, but it would be good just to give kids a baseline to shoot for. I think one of the obvious ones right now is like mile per hour. So now we can maybe expand that to, all right, maybe your spin rate on X pitch needs to be whatever number, or your vertical or horizontal break on whatever pitch. You can give kids something to shoot for, as opposed to just saying, oh, this coach didn't reply to my email, it's the worst thing in the world. We can be like, okay, we'll keep working, and then see if we can get these numbers up and see where we can go from there.
Yeah, that's great, Lance. Let me follow up with that question a little bit, because you talked about that of, say that happens, say a recruit sends you that and they work on those numbers, they send you another, let's say a PDF bullpen report, and you see that improvement. What does that do in your mind on a recruiting point? Like if they follow up with that and you're seeing those improvements where maybe you wouldn't be able to do that in a normal way with just watching a player play one time.
Yeah, well, if the first thing, it tells me they're coachable and they're adaptable. I feel like in today's world, we're going all towards numbers, data, and everything. So the fact that they can adapt to a software system and continually improve their game towards that, it's a big inclination to me that, okay, they are going to take some teaching and run with it. I think one thing every coach fears is that their kids are going to be uncoachable and not receptive to change. So I think that would be a huge plus for me, is just knowing that, okay, this kid has put in the time, she's super coachable. It would make me want to sign that kid even more.
Yeah, awesome. Again, thank you guys for all the insight you shared with us today. Now I'd like to turn it over to each of you to just give some final advice to coaches on how and why technology is a great tool, even in development and assessment and even design when you're working with your student athletes these days. So JT, you're up first.
Yeah, it really kind of started for me a while ago of just thinking like, is what I'm saying actually right? And I know technology has definitely helped hold me accountable and just say, hey, maybe what you're saying could be worded different, or maybe it doesn't work. So doing a lot of drill work on Rapsodo is awesome, because it's like, hey, look, your exit speed, or whatever it is that you're working on is increasing. Let's keep doing this. And yeah, I think kind of moving forward, technology is the piece that it's not like a bad thing to have. And I think it kind of has that stigma of just, if you're into the numbers, your head's buried in a book and you're not paying attention to the player. But I think it's the exact opposite, where you can create better relationships with your players and in their development, just because what you're saying is the right thing. Like, there's no guesswork to it. So I think we're progressing as a sport, and I love it. And I think everyone's getting on board. And once we get to a good spot, it's just going to be a world full of just ridiculously good softball players like a rate we've kind of never seen. So yeah, that's just my, I guess, last final take.
Awesome. Lance, you're up.
Yeah, I think my biggest advice would just be, don't let it be the end all be all. Whenever I first got some numbers from our kids this fall, I was like, man, we can't ever throw that pitch in a game. Like, look at these numbers. They're like whatever. And then we went out there and they got a ton of swing and misses on them, because, I think for me, understanding that the trajectory you're on is more important than where you're at. So don't let it be the end all be all. Let it enhance your kids' ability, not, bog their minds down, kind of like what JT said, and make sure you're using it to enhance each of your student athletes.
Yeah. All right, Sam, close us up here with some great insight.
Well, I agree with both of them. I think, and JT's point was great. Test your drills. Well, the one thing I think I get asked all the time is, I need a drill for this, the drill for this. Like, well, how do you know the drills you're doing aren't the right ones? There's only so many. Test them, see if they are working with what you're doing before maybe you throw them out the window. And for me, adding the Rapsodo, the pitching and the hitting, for us, it was just a really easy decision, with one, the ease of use that we've had, and how we're able to enhance that communication with the players. We have a lot of them that are really interested in it, and honestly, they work technology better than we do half the time, so they pick it up really quick. It was also the most budget friendly option for these types of systems that are out there. So we've really gotten a lot out of it. We're able to use it with what's important in our program. I can tag the players. The hitters will tag themselves. All right, we're doing drop balls today. They can put in the speed, if it's live, if it's BP, and then I can sort it all in the cloud later that day in the office. So it's just been really easy and a quick way to get that kind of quantifiable, individualized programming that we're looking for, and really helping us just create a whole picture for the swing, for the game plans, and how we want to move forward. And we've enjoyed both sides of it, the pitching and the hitting, and the improvements and the actions that we've seen in our player development with it.
Yeah, that's great. Again, just thank you, Sam, Lance, JT, for joining us today to talk a little bit about Rapsodo. We wish you luck in the 2021 season. We expect to see all of you guys making some waves, and we will support you, and we really enjoy what you guys have been doing, and continue this relationship moving forward with Rapsodo and softball.